Shalom Aleichem, a good night of Shabbos. Parshas told us, Tov Shin Pei Gimel. This past Sunday, Shabbos Sunday, was the Kinnas HaShluchim, with over 6,500 people, Baruch Hashem, gathered in Crown Heights for a wonderful weekend together. Ish Esre'eu, each one helped the other one, strengthened them, and to share one nakuda, one point that Mr. Yekusiel Rohr, known as George Rohr, spoke about the idea of the partnership between Yisachar and Zvulun, business people, and Shluchim and Lomdei Torah, and people who are involved in Naskanas HaKlal and community work. He spoke about not just being a partner, giving a check or giving a shear to Balabatim, but each one feeling the achrayus, the responsibility of the other one. So if there's something that's not going well for the shliach, it bothers the partner. And if there's something that's not going well for the partner, it bothers the shliach. And I want to just go a little further and connect this also with the special day today, which is Rosh Chodesh Kislev. A guten Chodesh, a freilichen Chodesh, a lebedike Chodesh, a geulendike Chodesh, Chodesh ha-geula, Yutes Kislev, Chodesh ha-oir, Chanukah, Yudalet Kislev, the Rebbe's Yom HaNisuyin, and many other special events. I remember I was there. I could say, like someone said to me last night at Fabrengen for Rosh Chodesh Kislev, I attended for a little bit. You already consider yourself a zaken? I said, well, we have a 25-year-old Fabrengen about Rosh Chodesh Kislev. I guess I'm a zaken compared to him. His father wasn't probably very old, not very old, was a young boy when Rosh Chodesh Kislev happened, Tafshin Lamed Ches, which was 1977. But the Rebbe had a heart attack, and a massive heart attack. Everyone has heard and continues to hear. Dr. Weiss and others relate details of what took place, the great miracle that the Rebbe was so sick and so close to passing on, and the Eibishter made a miracle that he not only survived, but he thrived for the next 14, 15 years till Tafshin Nun Beis, when he had a debilitating stroke. And we asked ourselves, what's the reason for celebrating Rosh Chodesh Kislev? And I remember the chant and the niggin, the Rebbe is gesund, the Rebbe is gesund, the Rebbe is gesund, Mashiach soll schon kommen, the Rebbe is well, the Rebbe is well, the Rebbe is well, Mashiach should come. So it's so many years later, the Rebbe's passed on, Lubavitch continues, and the Rebbe continues impacting us, no gewaldig, but what's the purpose of celebrating Rosh Chodesh Kislev? And the answer is the Shluchim. The answer is the Kinnas HaShluchim. The answer is Lubavitch. In other words, the message of Rosh Chodesh Kislev, that we have a Rebbe, and although there are times when there are physical, material issues that seem to disturb or try to stop the Moshe Rabbeinu of a generation, the tzaddik, which would be an end to this revelation, this Gilui Elikus, this revelation of godliness. When we look at 6,500 people gathering at the New Jersey Convention Center, wherever it was, you see Begashmias with your eyes, in the bank, not belief, it's the Re'iyah. You see that the Rebbe is alive, that the Rebbe is gesund, that the Rebbe is healthy. Someone wrote an article several years ago, someone from Williamsburg. He says, I was in Crown Heights for Simchas Beis HaSheva during Sukkot. And he says, you think we're alive in Williamsburg? We're dead compared to what's going on in Crown Heights 20 plus years after Gimel Tammuz. Now, this doesn't mean to say that we're perfect and there are things that don't need to be corrected. There's plenty of things that need to be corrected. Everyone knows that. Every shliach knows that. Every Lubavitcher knows that. That's not the point. The point is the trajectory. Which are we going up or are we going down? or sideways? That's the shaila. That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. And the Rebbe, in the talk that he gave for 20 minutes or so, I think it was 20 minutes, Motzei Simchas Torah, when we were all shattered, sheshmettert, we knew that Rebbe was very ill. We knew that Baruch Hashem, he survived till, but, most Chassidim didn't know. And then Rabbi Groner comes down towards the end of Yom Tov Simchas Torah, and he announces that the Rebbe said he wants to say a Sicha, he's going to say a Sicha after Yom Tov. The entire 770, thousands of people were there, and you couldn't hear a drop of noise. And it's online, you can hear it, so I'm not making up stories. Listen, the Rebbe is speaking from a mic in his room, and it's heard in 770, and it's shah still, as though he's sitting there at his table, on his chair at the table in 770. One of the messages that the Rebbe, that told Rabbi Groner to ask Rabbi Yoel Kahn to explain, is the idea of a needle, giving an injection. That an injection, you pull back, it fills up with air, and then you give the proper dose of whatever you're injecting. So the Rebbe explained that this is the idea of the tzimtzum. It says in Kabbalah, explained the Chassidus, the idea of the contraction of the infinite light of Hashem, the Ein Sof. That in order for there to form a world, an Eilam, there had to be a tzimtzum, because the world couldn't exist within the light as we knew it. Because the light as we knew it was only light. It gave no place for something outside of light or different than light. So in order to do that, you had to make it tzimtzum. The Eibishter the Eibishter made it tzimtzum. He wanted to make it tzimtzum because he wanted a world like we have it now. What's the purpose of this contraction of the infinite light? A higher gain. Development of reality. The world. So the Rebbe said the same thing. That the fact that there was this tzimtzum on his health. He didn't say these words, but this was what he intimated to. The fact that there was this tzimtzum on his health is not chas v'sholom, not God forbid for there to be negativity, morbidity, depression, melancholy, but rather for there to be greater simcha and greater happiness and greater Torah and greater outreach. And indeed, this is what took place. In fact, they would make a minyan for the Rebbe those 5 weeks between Shmini Atzeres, when he had the heart attack, and Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which is the day he came out. Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the first time he walked out of 770, he walked home. So during that time, they made a minyan in the small base medrash, and they had only 10 people, the maskirim, the secretaries, and a few others. And they wanted the Bachrim during the day not to be there, the secretaries, because it makes noise and it's disturbing to the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, Chas v'sholom, the koil of Torah, the sound of Torah gives me chayas. What do you mean disturbs me? That's my chayas. That's my life. Not narishkeiten, nonsense, resting and dreaming and wasting my time. My life is Torah. And if I myself can't sit right now at a sefer, I have to rest in bed. He didn't say these words, I'm paraphrasing. The fact that I hear the Bachar and the students learning Torah, this gives me more energy and more life. Begashmi is physically, not spiritually. Spiritually for sure, but Begashmi is. So this is the connection, up I said, between the beginning of the week, the Kinnas HaShluchim, and the end of the week today, which is Rosh Chodesh Kislev. And one more point. This Parshas told us. Eila told us. Yitzchak ben Avram Heilu this Yitzchak, Rashi and the commentators. Who's better, the father or the son? The father brags, I have such a son, and the son says, I have such a father. And the truth is, it's both true. Beides and emes, as we say in Yiddish. Both are true. A real father, A good father sees his son as his continuation, and therefore he exalts his son. And a son that's really bound and understands and has the kibbut up for the father says, you know why I'm like this? Because of my father. And this touches the other issue, which Emit Hashem for Yutas Kislev, I'm coming out with a book called Tanya on mental health. It's endorsed by Rabbi Moshe Weinberger, the Mordechai Asra of Kehilas Eish Kodesh in the Five Towns, a Mashpia at Yeshiva University. It's also endorsed by Rabbi Avram Tversky, Olav Sholem. He endorsed my first book on these issues called Your Better Self. And by Harvard, another Orthodox Harvard, the psychiatrist, Dr. Moshe Zalman Creighton, and the psychologist from England, the Chabad psychologist and professor Miriam Lowenthal. So I encourage you to get a hold of the Sefer called Tanya on Mental Health. But why am I mentioning it now? Because this idea of the father being proud of his son and the son being proud of the father is something that we need to talk about and work on today. Because lots of sons, lots of kids, and I don't mean only sons, but daughters too, have issues with their parents, and a lot of parents have dissatisfaction from their kids. And there's much to talk about this, but more than talking about it, we need to know what the Torah says and follow the Torah. Now, of course, when you need a professional, go to a professional, but with the guidance of Torah, not going to a psychologist or psychiatrist or therapist who is antithetical to Torah and will guide a frum Jew in a way which is against Torah, which is happening. It's happening many times. And that's why kids and parents don't listen to each other, because the therapist said, the holy therapist, Kodesh, 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 Kodesh v'Torah. You have to go to a frum therapist who does things based on halacha, and that includes they consult with the kids and they consult with the parents and they know how to deal with the situation. The Oidvahu Ikir is to learn Tanya. It's Chodesh HaGeula, it's Chodesh Kislev. We have anfangen lernen Tanya. I asked Rabbi Yoel when I was on Shlichus. When I went on Shlichus, I said, Rabbi Yoel, what should I learn with my Balabatim? He says, Tanya. I said, Rabbi Yoel, the Tanya, certain chapters 26 to 30 through 34, I can learn with them. It's psychological, in a sense. But the before and after, especially after, about this, the Abba and the Yid and the levels and all that, like it's way beyond me. I should teach it to others. Rabbi Yoel said, the Rebbe Mir Gezopt, I should learn Tanya with the Bocharim in Yeshiva, and I'm sharing with you that to learn Tanya. And it's so interesting that he told me this, because on his tombstone now, on his matzeva, I don't know who wrote it, but whoever wrote it put down that he taught Tanya in Borough Park, I think, for over 50 years, specific, and not just in Borough Park, in other places too, in Philadelphia, in Lakewood, in Muncie. The point is that Erzach kocht in Tanya, and he taught Tanya his entire life. So there's no such a thing, I already learned Tanya. You didn't learn Tanya, because there's so much more to learn. But Mela, make a achlota resolution, every one of us, to relearn Tanya and to learn today the Svarim, Chassidus Muve'eres, and other lessons in Tanya, in Hebrew and English and other languages. And now, Baruch Hashem, my book hopefully will contribute to the understanding and learning of Tanya, to see how Tanya deals with certain mental health issues, or at least gives us a glimpse of how to approach something, or to be a lead way to have a discussion with some professional based on the thought in Tanya. And it should help. We should have the Geula Shleima in this Chodesh Kislev, Chodesh HaGeula, Yutes Kislev, Yudalet Kislev, Chanukah, the Eid of Chanukah, the light, and we'll be Zeicha to Geula Shleima Bekor of Mamish, with healthy, with good Shidduchim, Parnasa Bar Chava, and the ultimate Mashiach now.